Get your autograph on that. All right, we're all set? All right, I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll start with attendance. Roll call, please.
Tim Scarberry,
Here.
Rich Erickson,
Here.
Joe Trollman,
Here.
Ben Bunka,
Here.
Greg Carr.
Here. All right. We'll look at a motion. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes, the December 12th meeting. Any
I move to
corrections?
accept the motion. Or we be stuck on.
So we got a motion to accept from Don Bunka and a second by Joe Troll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're good to go. All right, we'll jump right into the new business here. And if I could get you to read our appeal number 1, please.
Appeal number 1, a request by Nicholas Walsh for a front yard location variance and a 59.2-foot front yard setback variance to build a 40 by 80 pole barn located at 12277 Overlook Drive, Benton, Michigan 48430. Parcel ID is 470411100033. The property is zoned RE Rural Estate, reference Tyrone Township Ordinance number 36, section 20.01, and Schedule of Regulations 21.02, B2C.
Thank you. Okay, the applicant is here.
Yeah. Would you like us up there?
Wherever you're comfortable, a small group, loud voice, so,
I'll come up here to project a little bit easier. And so
okay, sounds good.
folks who may want to see me, my name is Mike Gilner. I'm here on behalf of Nick Walsh. Nick is in the back of the room with his wife. I'm helping him with this application, and I'm the one responsible for the materials in front of you tonight. We have come seeking 2 variances. One dealing with the yard in which this pole barn is placed, and the other is the setback from the property line. As you can see from the photographs, the home is located to the very rear of the property, and in such a way that while he has some side yard, the largest portion of his yard constitutes the front yard. I should point out, Mr. Walsh did not build the home. He purchased the home in its present location. We attached a photograph to our materials showing that to the immediate side of his home, in the side yard, is the septic field. There is further to the side heavily wooded area, or wooded enough.
So let me just clarify for everyone here who doesn't have the same information in front of them that I have. Your septic field is in this area, correct?
Yeah, approximately, yes.
Approximately.
It's a small area, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you can't really see from that photograph so much, but you can see it in one of our other photographs. There is in that also veering off to the side yard, a very small channel that doesn't have flowing water in it, but that property over there is wet more often than not. And then, of course, you have the trees.
Could you point for us up there? Just the specific area where you.
I was gonna look at one of the photographs.
More so
that you
for
attached.
the.
So it's right here is the drainage.
Okay, so that's low right in there.
Yep.
Okay,
So, the area that he wishes to build is, as I said, in the front yard. We provided some photos, and this is not one of the photos that we attached. This, I assume, is GIS. the one
yes,
that you have in
this
front of
is
you.
GIS.
Yep.
Correct.
So the photographs that we attached show the area, and it's the third of the third in the series of photos that I provided each of you. And if you have it, it's this one right here, which shows the approximate location of that shed. I wanted to point out from this photograph, so you see this line of trees in the foreground with the opening in the middle of it. What Nick's position is that he had to remove some of those trees to gain access to that area, but he did not remove all of the trees that are shown by the sand in this photograph. That was a wide open space to begin with. He needed a channel to get to that area, and so there were a few trees that had to be removed to gain access to that spot. I also wanted to point out from the photos alone that we just see in the photos, the few that I provided, a camper, an RV, a large enclosed trailer, a golf cart, an open trailer with a drop-down gate, 2 large trucks, one white, one black, another open trailer. He has some 4x4s or 4-wheelers in his garage, a number of pieces of equipment as well. And as I put in the paperwork, that is why Mr. Walsh is seeking an accessory building as large as he is. Right now, that stuff is in his yard or in his garage. He has a hoist as it is in his garage, so that he can maneuver and store some additional things indoors, but he frankly needs additional space. With that, I'll just try to answer any questions that you have, but everything else I believe is self-explanatory.
Okay, well, I will bring it back to the board for any questions, comments that you will have.
Can we interpret that the lot line that goes from the corner to the outside edge there that the building's going to be next to is actually a side yard rather than a front yard line?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking here.
Front yard's here on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
This line here is not necessarily a front yard itself. It's a side yard. The backyard to the people in front of it.
Yeah, that's the, front yard is front of the road, but
He's,
it's
he's in front of the house.
in front of the house.
And you really can't move it back. You really can't move it back because of this low area right here.
That's true, yes.
This right here. To keep it parallel with the house.
Right. Because of the wetness, because of the woods,
Yeah.
that's right.
And what about back in here?
So, Nick?
Yeah, that's a septic field right in there. Right, see that little, right under your mouse, that little white tent is, I guess?
Yeah,
That's, I have a little storage tank there, but
That
that's,
right here?
yep, that's the edge, the whole edge of the septic field right there.
I see. On your drawing, it says approximate septic field location. Okay, yeah. All right. And so, yeah. But this little building is not on your septic field.
It's on the edge of it, yeah.
Yeah. Your actual septic field is right here, this green area?
Yep.
Okay. So what about this area right in here?
That's all wet, you know.
That's pretty low?
Yeah, that's all wooded and wet right there.
Okay.
Can we talk, or we just sit here until he's done?
Just
Okay, that's what it
look
says.
at your turn. No, right now it's the board.
No,
the
that
board's-
was, you- okay.
We're, you guys got any other questions? Comments you want?
No, I think it is more along the lines of what your questions were kind of leading to, was there other locations explored
Right.
with builder, et cetera, on the property that would fit? Just-
Yes, and it was, but the location that he selected is the one that doesn't require that he clear cut a large number of trees on the property, which I don't think serves anybody's interest, and also avoids any wetness.
Thanks.
And all along his driveway, this is all wooded.
And what you can't see from the photograph that's up there is that to the right and back, that is, I'm not going to say vacant, but it's at this point largely undeveloped back there. So all to the right of the screen that's displayed here.
All right. Any questions, Don? Joe? You guys can chime in if they come up. I will open it up to any oral or written comments, and I guess
I have a question.
one at a time, so,
Go ahead.
yeah, that's fine.
What's the?
What's your name, sir?
Tim.
Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
As the lot stands right now, what's the allow, how does the ordinance or the rules, what size building should be there right now? You know, what's allowable right now with no changes? The size of the garage structure?
Well, he's zoned, let's see, what is that? That's zoned RE,
Yes.
so he can build that size structure. He's zoned rural estate.
Okay,
So according to our ordinance, his variance isn't a request on size.
okay.
His variance request is front yard
Mhm.
and off the line. So the size is, he's zoned legitimate for
Okay.
that, for that size.
Right, man.
What's that now? Okay,
I guess.
I don't, Matt,
Yep, my name's Matt Remillard.
you gave us this packet, I think some of it.
Yeah, I put a packet in there because some of these pictures will kind of
a little bit different than what we're seeing there. One thing I wanted to mention, I'll get into, I kind of streamlined this because I thought I had 3 minutes, but I want to keep it moving. The wetlands he's talking about in the back, that was all wetlands. There's people here that have lived there 30 years. Right off of where he,
Go ahead and show
right
us.
back in here, that was mowed by me for almost 30 years. I thought, and the property line moved when he had it surveyed. There was a garden here. My neighbor had it there for 27 years. He moved it. If you look in the packet, you've got the original picture of the backyard, what it looked like. And then you got a picture of what it looks like now. And I'll go into this, but these pictures, it affects everybody in the subdivision. I met with Nick. I introduced him to my neighbor. I knew him when he was in high school. I introduced him to my neighbor who was Leary, and I said, no, good guy. He's telling us what he's going to do. I took him over there. It was a 20 by 40 tucked in. I would see the corner of it. I see the whole side of the building. It's not what he told me, and I can't, it's not right what's going on here. I would ask you to deny both variances. First of all, the biggest concern I have, size of the building, 40 by 80, to put your toys in. The area he has cleared right now, from looking at it, it looks like it's 40 by about 50, maybe 60. I think it's deceiving because what happens is when he puts the other on, after you tell him it's okay, he's going back further. And that even opens it up more. There is nothing said about the height of this building. Is it going to be a double story? When you look at those pictures, and I have them from coming into the sub, you see it. There's people here, and in this packet, there are 3 letters from people who are opposed to it, and a 4th was turned in tonight. And I would ask you to read some of that stuff because it's pretty interesting. But the height of the building, the location, it changes the whole landscape of the subdivision. The proposed barn is in the backyard of 7 houses. I gave you pictures of those 7 houses, what they'll look at. Not what I was told at first, and it's in full view of the whole subdivision when you're coming into the subdivision. The fact that the property is zoned rural estate, I understand that. I grew up out here. It was rural, but it is a subdivision now, and it's a focal point of the whole subdivision. You will have a line of people up here wanting their taxes cut because it diminishes the value of their property. The land use permit that was put in, when I talked to Nick, and then my neighbor talked to him, and my wife talked to him, I asked him 2 things. I said, I will not contest what you're doing if you're doing what you said you were doing. And I said, get your permits, make it legit. And do not stop the natural flow of water from my property. I've had issues with water since the road was redone and we've all paid for it. It has been a lot better. I was told 100 times by my dad to come down here because the road was sloped wrong. Once we redid it and paid for the road, it helped with the water. But there are people around here that I've talked to who are very concerned that the whole backside of that is going to have water issues. Some are already having it. There's a letter from some people that live back there. The man just died a couple of weeks ago, very prominent businessman in Fenton who tried to rationalize with it and could get nowhere, and they've had water problems for the last couple of years. Don't know if it's all because of Nick, but the flow of the water changed and it's going in their backyard. She is not here. She wrote 2 letters. The man who talked to Nick about it.
Is this Georgina?
Yes.
Georgina Bates?
Yes. And Danny Bates was a professional businessman who was in business a lot of years who could get nowhere. I did not want to get a lawyer. We did send a lawyer because of I call it a levee, but the berm was supposed to, what I was told was I'm digging a pond. The dirt from the pond will be the size of the berm. I'll put trees on top of it. I have a wall across the back of my property, which I can't do anything about, but I can get it knocked down if it stops the natural flow of water, and it will. I am not suing him at this point, but I will be. I'm pretty confident of it. I've been there almost 30 years, and we've had water issues. It flows right down. If any of you have been in the subdivision, when you go in, it all flows down. That side lot where he's building was the back where I mowed it for 30 years. There were times I couldn't mow it, there was water. On the right of that, between his house and that spot, he had a land use permit that was okay for grading. I put a copy of that in there. There were at least 10 tandem trailers brought in with fill. There were several dump trucks brought in. And I called to see if he had the permits because I wasn't sure. I don't get into, I run 2 businesses. I don't get into this stuff. I wanted it done right. I got nervous because I saw all the commotion. There was no permit. So put my name in, did the runaround on it, called some people to try to get some guidance to work through the system. And I was told it was a drain commission, and it's permits here. Long story short, they went out, made him get a permit. After the first permit, he accelerated. And he filled in the stuff that he said is dry now and he can put, because he brought in all the loads. I have pictures of it all. Concerned about that. If they were having problems out back prior to, and they couldn't get resolved, and Danny Bates knew how to talk to people, and he couldn't get resolved, concerns me. The lawyer told me, he can't restrict the flow of water. It is restricted. I put a copy of what he was allowed to do. I would like you to look at that because that's going to come in question because it wraps my whole property along the side and everything. I have issue with that. I do not want problems. My plane is landing. I wasn't looking for a fight. But after what I found out what Danny Bates went through, and there's other people in here that know what that land was. One person owned it, that's here. There was water on it, there was constant water. We had a drought this year. That's when it happened. I did not have water all the time in my crop this year for the first time. It usually runs every 3 minutes. So my lawyers told him if I have water problems, we will sue. I can tell you, all the people, if this is allowed, they all understand what we have to do. I walked the maze and went through it. They all understand if the water flow changes, and all those gravel trains made a big difference, and they were already in a drought summer having water problems behind them, what the hell is going to happen when we really have a wet spring? Because I walked back there many times with some of the guys in here, and there was 6 to 8 inches of water in there. The ditch on the other side of his property, and there's people in here that know it because they called me up and said he didn't put the right tiles in. There were tiles and there are tiles under his driveway to let the water flow into that to run out to the back to the wetlands. And there's probably not water in there now because we had a drought. Or if it's still wet, there's not much there. But that's how that was designed to run back in there. There's a creek back in there. So I'm waiting. People are waiting. There's some people that, their choice, they probably need to get the lawyer and deal with it right now because they're already having. The runoff from this building, as big as this building is, there's a shot from one of the back lots, lot 42, and you look at that and you're looking uphill. And he's going to come back another 20 feet and it's going to run right back into all these people. So not only are they going to be looking down on this, and you see the views from all these properties, this isn't a rural setting. It's the middle of a subdivision. And I'm not one, I don't like to get in people's business, and I had no intentions of being difficult about this until I found out more. And I found out stuff I did not like. The interactions with the neighbors, read the letters. Scary thought, and nothing got resolved on it. So it's gonna probably end up legal and the use of the building. If I was gonna buy a place and I had all them toys and I needed an 80 by 40 building, that's kind of putting the cart before the horse. If you need an 80 by 40 building, once you buy a place where you can put it in, and we can change it all after, we can fill in all the wetlands to say that's the only place I can build. But if you really wanted to, he could have built it in the back, but then he would have had trouble with Tim. And because he's already been on his property. So the thing is, I started out this in good faith, and when someone looks you in the eye and tells you something, and does the opposite, it doesn't set well with people. When people, we're in a transition of a neighborhood right now. To have me up here, I can't believe I'm up here. I was the guy like, let it be, let it be. I had some guys hound me, said, do you know what's going on there when people were dumping in there? And I said, look, it's not hurting anything. And they were worried about it getting filled in and causing water problems for everybody else. Well, it happened. And what happened is, if we have a wet spring or fall, all hell is going to break loose in that subdivision. The base have had all kinds of issues since some stuff was done. I understand there was some dredging done, not necessarily by Nick, but it's irrelevant. The back of the property I walked through used to have a lot of water in there. It's gone. And it's going on their property. This building will create havoc for a lot of people. But if you look at them views, it's not a rural estate setting. If that was, his house was up where mine was, and he had it heavily wooded, like you can see the original pictures, and that is, I'm not dwelling on that, because all this is going to do is stop the building. The water problem is going to be dealt with, because the levee's up. But all I can say to you, I would hope that you can support us. The letters are from 12235 Overlook, 12242 Denton View, and 12277. And it does not fit the mold. It's, if you can see by the pictures, it will diminish a lot of elbow equity that's put into a very nice neighborhood. The transition in our neighborhood, we have a lot of young families and we have elderly people. And they're all worried. I would hope that you can support us by denying.
Thank you, Matt. You guys got any questions for Matt?
No,
Any questions? All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Matt. And we do have letters from Georgina Bates. We have another letter from, did you guys see the letter from, I think it's Janet? Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm John Lucas, my property, my wife has a corner lot just south of Matt's property. And my concern is the water. I mean, if you stand in my yard and face south, White Lake Road and South White Lake Road is all elevated. So, I mean, there's times when we have heavy rains, that water from White Lake Road is a river coming through my front yard around the corner, and it puddles basically across from Matt's driveway, because there's not enough place for all that water to go. So there's times in summer where I have standing water, no place for it to go. That's my concern, that whole corner. I mean, like I said, we changed the road's better now, so the water goes off. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Again, the other concern is how, I understand the building can be sized, but it's not sidewalks. He has a nice RV, he's probably gonna park that in there. And that'd be my concern, again, the physical size of the building. That's my comment.
Okay. And your name again was?
John Lucas?
John Lucas? Anybody else?
I'm Jill Remillard, Matt's wife,
Yeah.
next door neighbors. Again, we lived there a long time, and when Nick bought that lot was a heavily wooded lot. You can see by the pictures that we submitted to you, it is no longer a heavily wooded lot. He has taken out all of the trees. Everybody in the subdivision can see his house. Never was like that before. It was set back in the woods, heavily wooded, you couldn't see anything. He has spent 2 years clearing that out. We watched it, we have many pictures of it, and it is all vacant now. Very, very, very few trees on the lot. And he's brought in all dirt and filled in and raised it. And all of that was done, most of that was done on a stop work order. So that's something we might want to pursue too. Because he was asked to not do it, he did it anyway, and it was done on a stop work order. And he went in full gear, he had dirt brought in by the tons, and his property now sits higher than everybody else's, on a stop work order. So, again, I think if you address the packet, you see the letters and the concern, everybody takes pride in that subdivision. All the yards are very nice, they spent a lot of time keeping it that way. We do not want to look at that in the middle of the subdivision, it doesn't belong there. That's not something that you put in the subdivision. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I live just north of that property and just kitty corner from it.
Can you show
Yeah.
us on the map?
Okay, this is Matt's property. I live right here. My name's
Okay.
Charlie Jones. Okay, this whole area, right here is wet in the summer. This summer it wasn't, it was dry, but most of the time it's wet. I have to push mow this because it's so wet, the tractor gets stuck. These people, the kids couldn't even play back there because it's too wet. So by him putting that size of a barn, if we got like a ½ inch of rain, excuse me, that's gonna create about 1,000 gallons of water. Where's that water going? Right back here. My backyard and their backyards. So drainage is a big deal. And we're all worried about that water. We're at the bottom of the hill, basically.
And your name again?
Charlie Jones.
Charlie Jones. Got that one? Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else?
Just point of order, will I be allowed to address some of these concerns?
Yeah.
Dale Payne, I'm 12249 Denton View, I'm across the road from Regina Bates. And, I'm really concerned about the water for her because it's been bad prior to this. They've been fighting it for several years. And then the visibility thing for me is an issue.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll just add to that, the visibility, you know, when you look at that particular lot is just much larger than the others. And to go on what Matt said and some of the others, you know, it's now just it's a neighborhood, and it just doesn't fit. And, you know, these people have made investments in their property, and you know, that type of structure going in is really going to devalue. You know, people aren't going to want to you know, move into a house to look at a structure like that. And if you notice that even on Denton View in the back there, you know, you'll be able to see that as soon as you come off White Lake Road, and you'll see it from everywhere that you go in the subdivision. Now, I can tell you personally that I have some property in the back there, and you know, I've had some problems with, first of all, with some trees being cut, on my property. And, I've got calls before from him about that he shoots animals. It's not that big. I'm a pretty avid hunter, and I think that you follow the rules when you hunt. And to be shooting even a gun in a residential area like that it's just not safe. But then he shoots them, and they come over on my property, and I get calls, hey, I want to come get the animal. And I said, well, what's wrong with you? I mean, you can shoot a deer or a dog or whatever in the heart, and it's gonna run off that property. So I'm trying to demonstrate that some of the things, I think, backing up what Matt has said, that some of the things maybe that he was told, he just didn't really live up to.
If this is granted, how do we know a business won't be run through it? What, is there any
That's-
guarantee? I mean, once you guys do it, then,
That's not what we're here for, so.
okay,
I mean, I can't control it.
okay, I was just asking.
If what come,
Okay.
we're focused on the variance request. That's really the board's focus.
So with the setbacks, how obviously you guys have,
We have 5 criteria that we look for.
so there's a reason why you have that criteria. Can you maybe explain that a little bit? I mean,
Well-
how do you come up with that criteria? What's the board must
We
say,
don't-
okay, based on the size of a lot or something, that you come up with a criteria that says, things should be a certain way? What's the reason for that criteria? Why do they have side setbacks or front setbacks?
We have 5 criteria. One is unreasonable burden, substantial justice, extraordinary circumstance, health, safety, and environmental concerns. So when an applicant comes to us, they want to go against the ordinance, and they have to justify those criteria to us.
But the original criteria, why did they come up with side setbacks and front setbacks? Why? We all have them, right?
Yep.
Can you give me a little reasoning about why they created those?
When I first started on this board, they had just adopted the ordinance that we have now, that red, hold up that red book. That's our ordinance, and it's, obviously, that was adopted in 1997. And it's obviously been adjusted throughout the years. Various things have been tweaked here and there. They adopted that, the board adopted that back then, to maintain the township and its rural character. And that set of rules or ordinances was put together by a lot of townships. They didn't just come up with it out of the blue. It was a blueprint that other townships had adopted at the time. And Tyrone, from my understanding at the time, felt that was a good template for them. And so they adopted that ordinance. And then over the years, the board has tweaked it with the planning commission and the zoning board of appeals, recommendations throughout the years. It's been modified. Is it perfect? No. I mean, what's perfect?
Sure.
But it's pretty darn good. It has some areas that I would like tweak some more, that are difficult for us to sometimes manage. Mainly the lake property stuff. But these rural estate issues happen. Obviously, Tyrone Township is full of wetland. We're on a cusp of watershed for mostly the Saginaw Valley flows that way. And so, yeah, we have to be conscious of that water. I mean, we're at the head of the watershed. We really are. We're at the head of the thumb continental divide, if you want to call it. And so these concerns concern all of us. Should concern everyone here in the township.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation.
So, I need to let Mike have a rebuttal here, at least.
I'm gonna come up so I can point this out.
I mean, all this fill,
Yes, that's one of the points I'd like to address for a moment. First, I'd like you to go along with me and imagine this lot is undeveloped, and Mr. Walsh was looking to build a house and a pole barn on it for the very first time. When you look at...
however, he bought it with the house already out.
He did. That I understand. What I'm saying is that had he come in and built a house, and it wasn't placed where it is right now, but was placed up here, that house is in the backyard of other people's homes. But no matter which way you look, he is surrounded on those two large sides by other homes. So had he put his house here and the pole barn back here, it's still visible. It's still visible. He bought the property, though, with the house where it is, which leaves only the front and the side yards as available places to put it. My point is that no matter what, wherever this thing would be placed, it's going to be visible to people who were already in the neighborhood. He doesn't do this to poke an eye or poke a finger in anybody's eyes to make the neighbors upset. That goes to the configuration of this piece of property. As to the fill, Mr. Chairman, I have here the permit issued by the Drain Commissioner's Office for filling, grading, land balancing, and berms. Now, that permit was issued in October, after he had done some preliminary work on it. Mr. Walsh was not aware that he needed a permit. When it was red tagged, he stopped. He went in, he got his permit, he came here. That's not a scofflaw. That is someone who is looking to do things the right way. As to the concern about will he run a business, will he say he's going to build a 40 by 80 and build a 40 by 120, or whatever the case may be, the township, as all of you know, has the ability to issue a stop work order, take him to court if he expands and goes beyond what this panel enables him to do. With respect to the drainage, since that seems to be the primary concern, his intention was to put a berm up. Let me see. Was to put a berm up along this area and plant trees on top of it to shield the view, number one. Number two, I directed your attention earlier to the third photograph in the series that I gave you. He installed some drainage, a culvert, across that way. And his intention is to put a ditch so that the water would continue to flow to the left of what we see on the screen right now, off to the back of the property where the drainage historically has gone. Now, if any of his work causes drainage issues, he is responsible civilly to these property owners. But he's offering, and I'm offering through him, that if as part of this you want to see some sort of study or assessment that what needs to happen to deal with drainage issues, we're happy to do that. We're happy to do that. But he understands his obligation is he cannot obstruct the natural flow of water. He understands that. If you need some objective evidence that he's not doing that, we're happy to provide it. I think those are the points I wanted to comment on.
Can I say one more thing? That property that got filled in, there are people in this room that would have bought it and built a house on it. One person owned it. You couldn't build there. It had 6 to 8 inches of water on an average. That's where the fill went. If he bought it, the Yahoo that bought it the first time would have built up and put the pole barn behind his building if he could have. That was the only place he could put a house there, because it was all swamp. And there are people in this room that care about their neighbors, and they could not do it because that was the only place. And now it's been filled in, and he's across where people were mowing, and Dave had a garden for 30 years. I understand. But that was all wetlands, or that was all swamp, and it got filled in. And if somebody bought it 3 years ago, they would have built in the same spot, because the rest of it was all water. And that has been changed.
Thank you. Everyone all set out there? Any more comments? Okay, I will close.
I have one. I'm confused. How could you think you could venture into a project like this without having a permit?
I asked you.
For the lawyer that just came up and said he wasn't aware he needed a permit, and he was told by 2 of the neighbors, go ahead, you own the property, get a permit, and do it right. So he was told that, but common sense would tell you, you are not going to be able to do what he wants to do without a permit. However, all the fill dirt came in without a permit. All the fill dirt.
And it accelerated after the first one was turned in. And I put my name on it, because I was told they were getting it. I asked it, because I knew the variance. Because my son-in-law wanted to put a pole barn in his front yard, and got turned down. And
He's in Tyrone Township also.
And he talked to people, they told him you couldn't do it, and he didn't do it. So I knew what I was asking when I said, just get your permit. And I would not have contested if it was done the way it should have been done. It has not been followed through with. The people in the back, Danny Bates tried his dearest to get the problems corrected.
We
Fell on a deaf ear. We
got
just, it's what
We
it
got
is.
your message.
Yep.
Thank you. We
Sorry.
got you.
Sorry.
You know, and to say you're gonna correct it, we have
We
an
got you.
8-foot
We-
wall of dirt in our backyard.
And you can't correct
You
that.
can't correct that. What's he gonna do now? There's not any drains in it.
Of
He's
course.
gonna take that down.
The court will correct that, but we said enough, sorry. I went over my 3 minutes.
We've got your message. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the oral and written outside. And bring it back to the board for any additional questions or comments, and then a consideration of action. Lost the picture.
The grading permit in that packet too, you should look at.
because the berm is different than what was just spoken to.
No questions?
So there's no, behind the house, what is there, is that woods strictly?
Yes.
Or what is behind the home there?
I'm sorry?
Directly behind the home, what is in that
Yes.
location?
It was woods, but there's been like 20 foot of the woods cut out of there.
Asking the applicant.
Yes, and what you can't see because this doesn't show, but much of this and much of this to the back and to the right of what the screen is all undeveloped wooded area. And behind his property here, the concern is the rear yard setback requirement. He cannot situate the barn there without offending that setback requirement as well.
It's swampy, and it's not just woods, it's wet.
You have lows back there.
Can't walk
So,
through there.
so this area, all in here, is low too, is what you're telling me. See my
Yes,
the mouse area?
yes.
I'm just confirming what.
So is there any ability to move the proposed location closer to the existing driveway that goes up to the home? Which would be east, I believe?
Are you suggesting in here?
You move it up like this way a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's east, towards your existing
Yeah,
driveway.
so right now, yeah, because so my plan was to have a driveway like this and then have a turnaround driveway come in. So I put a culvert here because this right here is all wet. All this is really wet. So if I slid it up into here, this is the wet area. So that's why it's gotta be kind of right, in that area, because this is all wet.
And this is where you put all your fill?
This is where I had asphalt millings come in for this right here. The asphalt millings came in and they came right here, and I put a culvert in so the water could still flow. And then I did have a little bit of sand brought in.
All right, yeah, thanks, that answered my question.
We have pictures of all of the trucks if you need them. Not a little bit of sand or a little bit of dirt. All of the property was wet until that happened.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I don't think so.
It's hard to see from the
Yeah, but what about here? Anywhere along here?
And for me personally, I don't have a problem with the size of the building, or I understand that you folks don't want to look at it, but if it's zoned that way, but the water issues is the issue.
The water is
The water is the issue.
big concern.
Because adding a barn to it is only gonna make it harder to correct if there is a problem. I mean, there should be somebody that can shoot a bunch of grades and find out that it's actually still gonna flow and, but without knowing that.
Yeah, that's not our
Yeah, no, but
responsibility, but yeah. it's-
Where are you looking? Oh,
I think there is.
right there. Is that what you're looking? Like this?
So,
So, yeah, you've got this.
yeah. That lot doesn't connect to the subdivision.
See, let's try. Which one? Right there. That's high. It's still. Yeah.
But that probably race into the setback variance.
Well, it's still a front yard variance.
Yeah.
Front yard is also a side yard.
Yeah.
So what is the side yard?
Well, the side yard, it's permitted in a side yard.
Right.
Just, you wouldn't need a variance. because
But
it's a
it
side
would,
yard.
even if it's in front of the house, it still would be okay in a side yard?
But
Well-
because there's homes in front of his property, then it's, this is why they're considering the front, is my understanding of it.
That was what I was trying to say.
But that's what Don's
initially.
point was, is this side or front? And it,
Right.
More considered size.
No, it's still front. Because this
Because
is
it's in
his,
front of the house.
this
Yeah,
is,
well-
this is his driveway right here. That's the front.
either way,
Yeah, if it's gonna stop water from now, it's gonna be like here.
well, yeah, they'll make it.
Yes.
Drain
Yes.
commission. They will let them build it.
Higher, higher. This is higher. The topography is higher. Up in here, yeah. Where?
Yeah, this pond over here is kind of like a property line. You know, the driveway's over here. Yeah, so. we'll come to
So,
that.
what about this area right here?
Which area you point to?
Well, you can't see it up here, right here.
Yeah.
I'm looking
That's
at it.
No, it's
that's
not.
what I had thought possibly, but.
Yeah.
Rich said you thought you was that water also.
I don't know.
It didn't jump out at me when I was there that it was.
Yeah.
It looks like it's.
It does. What's the elevation in this area right here? Excuse me. I can't get this mouse. Come on.
Moving that one.
I know, it's on this screen, but it's not.
Oh,
over
it's,
there.
it's not, it's on there.
Right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, right here.
That's the ditch, that's where all the road water goes for that, when they redid the road. I guess they put a drain easement in there, and that's where the road water all drains down, and that's a big ditch.
Off of the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
It's always been that way.
That's always been.
Okay, so the cul-de-sac drains in here.
Yes.
And then where does that water go?
Just straight, right down that property line into the back behind me.
This way.
Yes. And then it's all swampy back there.
Goes to my house.
Yeah.
I think there's wetlands back there, isn't there, Tim?
Yes.
And that's where all the water is flowing back into the wetlands from the
Mhm.
hillside.
I think this is yours. This is it. Just got it. Yeah.
I think so, because then you would have to come back and come back here for clarification, but is there another, like, this question would be to the applicant, is there a location closer to the cul-de-sac there that would fit for it? And did you consider that? I know you said you looked at different spots.
Yeah, I can move it up maybe like 50 feet or so. It would just restrict me from like trying to pull my camper in and just be really tight.
So you're saying 50 feet towards your driveway?
Yes, towards that would be east.
East?
Yep. And at that point, I mean, everyone's still gonna, everyone will still see it.
Yeah, but you can plant trees, you can screen that, you can burn. We can put restrictions on the landscaping
Oh, you
to
can.
screen that out.
Yeah.
We can also put restrictions on it, tying it to the drain commission approval, making sure you don't. But,
Can you do stuff with silt that's getting in that wetlands that's coming further down?
well, the drain commission, we would that would tie to the Livingston County Drain Commission.
Yeah, Don, to your question, it is from our definition of a front yard in our ordinance, it draws a line across the front of the house, and anything in front of that. So anything from front of the house. So basically that, from, so the side is front, yeah, back.
So, I'm looking for a motion from you guys to be blunt, to either deny or to come up with a way that he's restricted to get the Drainage Commission's approval and making sure that the water, because that's a concern for me, and as much as these folks here, that water, I mean, it sounds like he's building on a wetland.
Just out of curiosity, what is this, like, do you have stable soil to put, is this a pole barn structure, or what type
Yeah,
of
full
footing?
barn structure, yeah.
And the ground is gonna be good and stable to actually,
Yeah.
you know, it's not soft or soggy and,
No.
Since I mowed it for 28 years,
Yeah.
there were times in the summer that I could not mow at all.
Yeah.
Because the water it was black muck. Now, as much was brought in, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. But there was a boatload brought in, but for the years that I mowed it, there was a lot of it, because it sat up there.
Yeah.
And on the real bad years, there was puddles out there, I mean, standing water.
Just trying to think if it moved.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
to do with other considerations.
that needs,
If it changed it.
it needs to have.
I'm concerned septic too.
I'm concerned about
We have
what?
septics,
Okay.
my neighbor and I, and it's probably 30 feet from it, but I just hope I don't have issues. It's a big, lot of weight going back there, I don't know if that affects it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
they're not cheap.
Options, if you move it one way or the other.
Yeah,
Much
you
water,
still got,
you know,
Yeah, I think if it's anywhere close to that location, I think you're still dealing with the same situation.
it's a situation where you how can you stop
Yeah.
from grading?
yeah.
I don't know how you stop someone from grading.
Well, It's
That's
just
a
not building.
ZBA, right?
Yeah, it's just not building. It's just not.
We don't need that.
Yeah. Right.
So if it was moved 50 feet east, would that help any of the water issues, or would it
No, you're gonna run into the same.
create
Yeah,
others?
no, same. All that's wet right there. There is a pond, but the overflow would be where I put that culvert in at.
Until we look at do that too. We talk to the green light. Maybe that's what we should do. And then we get with the drain commission.
It's either that or yeah, because I'm gonna go take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or deny.
Yeah.
I'll entertain either. So,
I move that we table this, to wait for the drain commissioner to make a statement about whether this property will affect the neighbors or not.
so I have a motion to, table so that the zoning board of appeals can, communicate with the drainage commission, Livingston County Drainage Commission. And then we also want to discuss with Livingston County about the fill and the wetlands. We as a board need to do a little more investigation before we can make a determination. So Don has a motion to table and Joe Trollman has seconded it.
Mark, or Fred, just to be clear, is the applicant getting drain commission and health department
Oh, they
permits, or what are you, I'm just making sure that the motion's clear. I
Well,
think
they
you
do just
stated the
evaluation of some
the
sort?
CBA to do it, but
They, to get a building permit, they have to review your site.
Right.
Okay.
So is that, I just
Yeah.
make sure that's clear. I think you mentioned the CBA do it, but
Well, no.
I just want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, actually, we're gonna have the applicant get that for us.
Okay, that's, I just want to make sure. Yeah.
The ZBA needs that information. We'll guide you through what we're looking for.
Now, the drain commission came out, I talked to the guy that came out, and he says, well, I just checked the property that he's doing it to. Will they look at the whole area? Is that
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they have to. I mean,
Okay.
they can't favor one person and.
No, I'm not saying that. It's
And
just
dump
saying-
on all the neighbors. No.
No, okay.
No. Yeah, they, it reminds me of a situation we had out by where I live. The road commission had to come out 2 times to fix because of a drain issue on personal property. And the drainage commission made the road commission come out and fix it twice.
Yeah, they said they had no authority over it all because it's not designated. But that was
Well,
twist arm.
okay, so there's a motion to table, motion by Don Bunker, seconded by Joel Trollman, and all in favor? Aye. No opposed. And so we'll be getting with you and having you get this information for us so that we can get it clear in our minds that everyone is protected here.
How will we be updated on it?
There'll be another, it's tabled, there'll be another hearing
Okay.
here.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we'll meet again, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get into this next one, I have to go quick.
Yes. We're going to take a brief recess. Thank you. Thank you for
Appreciate your time.
showing interest. I like this. Please, all of you, make sure you sign
Sign it.
our guest list back there, please.
You know, some of the people, they're ahead of myself. If you're looking for something in particular, let me know. Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. I understand.
Where we're starting, where we're going, how we're getting there.
Right, thank you.
Right, so if you guys approve that, does it go to the planning commission or is it already up?
No, we only, this is only for the setbacks.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. There's nothing else.
We approve
It's
it.
the location.
He gets a land use permit and goes to the county and gets his.
So that the building.
There used to be a lot back in the back corner on the northwest side, beside the football field, 4 feet deep minimum. It was there. There's springs all through that back corner. And they, 2 sump pumps every year, running nonstop. He had to replace it every year. So.
Yeah, it's hard because this, we are here to make those determinations. It's tough.
What do we do? We haul a bunch of gravel and sand.
Even that is.
What's that?
For us, we're just.
One of the setback.
Yeah.
It's their
Let's do something
substantial
like that.
justice and a burden, right, which, if you don't have anywhere else to go.
I'm going to turn in the application, so I'll build it.
I mean, when I just drove out there and looked at it, it to me looked like, okay, this makes sense, but I didn't realize all the water issues, you know what I mean? But like, as far as where it was at, I thought, okay, it's.
I got as far as beware of the dog, and I went, okay, I turned around.
You guys walked it and stuff, even out, you'd say to your ankles.
Yeah, no, it's not, like, for us, it's.
But where he's got the building, he's got all that fill.
Yeah, you build it up.
But the problem is he builds a mountain and now it's gonna run off on everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
The problem is, right, it's always this, is do it now and ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, hey, that's the way it does. You know what, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right. And that's what they do.
See, Matt, I've known him for 50 years, he's like, get me into this. I went over and looked at it, I go, this whole thing, we used to ride through the woods, through there, all that stuff right there, how we went swimming over there. I mean, it was a great time, but it was freaking 90 degrees, it was all clay bottom and shit, there's no drainage over there. That's why he's back in that back corner, it's all freaking clay, it's a mess. So, it's like, where's the, that's
Oh,
why I probably go, okay, what can I do with this? You know, in case I ever decide, you know, your property, you know, you have room for expansion. It's easy.
all right. We'll get going. We'll get her going for you.
Give Dave a call and, see what's going on.
Can you,
I'm actually, we're gonna pick up a puppy down there.
and who do we have here?
I'm Tim Chenard,
Tim?
the potential builder for.
Okay. I tell you what, I'm gonna have, I need to have, Marion read the variance request, and then we'll
Sure.
have you get started. Just,
So you're
Jim,
gonna build in the middle of a pond.
Yes, right.
tell us you didn't haul a bunch of
Glad to see no
fill.
neighbors too.
Oh, I'm with Dave. What are you doing?
House renovation.
All right, fire away, Mary.
Appeal number 2, a request by Philip Lee for a 22.3-foot setback variance from the water's edge to build a new dwelling located at 7535 Parkwood Court, Benton, Michigan, 43430, parcel ID 470430201062. The property is zoned LK1 Lakefront Residential, reference Tyrone Township Ordinance number 36, section 20.01.
I know where I know where this is. I didn't look. Yeah.
You're almost neighbors.
He's right across.
Yeah, I know.
I can see him.
Across the
Well, I
lake.
can kind of see it through the trees. Yeah. What do I gotta do here, Marion, to get this up on the thing? I gotta take this address out, right?
Yep, just exit out and type in the new
I'm a
address.
builder. Yeah, I'm a builder.
7535 Parkwood.
535 Parkwood. Court. W-O-O-D. Court.
See you guys later.
Take care, Herm.
All right. Good to see you, everybody.
You too.
You understand, I'm a Genoa Township Planning Commissioner, and I
Alright.
was at my meeting tonight, opened my book, said the Pledge of Allegiance, and had a heart attack. And raised tears as fast as I could.
No way.
So I was glad that was such a long meeting.
Wow.
And I knew I had to skip that meeting.
Oh, wow.
So, thank God for that.
So this house that he's talking about is Jim and Sylvia Cole's residence on Lake Shannon.
Is the developer, right? Is that-
Jim Cole developed several lakes, and this was one of the lakes that he developed. And yeah, that was, rumor has it, and I don't know for sure, that the house was built around a modular house.
That is true.
That is true.
That is true.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the reasons that.
It was a
my house is
modular,
going dumpster.
it was a modular house they used as their office, sales office, but, you know, and then eventually they built their home around it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So, what do you got going on here, Tim?
So ideally, we would like to remove the existing structure, bring it back off the lake as much as possible, but still being a non-conforming structure.
Right, you're moving it away from the lake, though.
Correct.
So, essentially, you're improving a non-conforming situation.
Correct. And the difficulty was pretty much a peninsula, so there's water all around it.
Right, he's
The
right on
architect
this
did-
point. See this? This is all the lake frontage. I don't know how many feet is it?
It's a lot.
I don't know, man, yeah. I'm gonna say it's gotta be 300 to 400 feet. Pine, well, this is all pine trees, and it's a fairly high knoll too. I'm gonna say the house is what, 20 feet above the water?
88 to, we're like 90.
No, the dam is down. There's a dam here,
So 25 feet to the water's edge.
25 feet to the
From
water's
the-
edge, but I mean
Yeah.
elevation,
Yeah,
elevation.
from
wise.
there, like
The
where
lowest
the
floor.
garage driveway is.
Oh,
25
down,
feet down
25
to the
feet,
lake.
okay,
Yep.
okay, yeah, from the garage floor.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, and this water is obviously higher and it flows down into the lake from here. This is, oh shoot, he was the zoning administrator forever and I'm drawing a blank. Come on, help me out.
George?
George, yeah, this is Van Heck's pond here. That George used to live right here. George Van Heck, right there. Yeah, that was George. But his family owned all of that property on that side, the Van Heck farm.
Hmm.
So, anyway, I'm getting off track. Go ahead, Tim.
So,
What are you doing here?
yeah, I guess the practical difficulty was the peninsula, and then we're trying to remove the existing non-conforming. It looks nice, but it's a bad house. It
Well,
needs to
it's
be removed.
pretty choppy. I've been in it a couple times.
Yeah, it needs to
And
be taken out.
it looks cool from the outside, but inside it's a little,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway. I can see why you wanna start it new,
Yeah.
so.
And you guys are, you're not incorrect, you guys are all on a septic field, or not septic field, on a drain system throughout the resort, right?
No, we're septics.
You have septic there?
Yeah, we're septic.
Where's the septic tank, or the septic field on this property?
It's going to be kind of in the middle of that horseshoe driveway.
Oh, okay.
It's in the front. Yep.
It's going to be a new system.
Okay, I see it.
Get rid of this.
Under the trees.
Yeah. And you're basically moving the house from here up to here? From here to here?
Correct.
Are you going over to the north any?
It is north.
I would think you'd want to go a little north. You could.
The garage is definitely north.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the house stays within that porch, so.
Yeah.
Within the porch, but yes,
Cool.
north.
All right. I don't know, guys. I like this.
Well,
I live there.
well, be quiet about that. He's definitely improving.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a big house.
Yeah.
How big is this
You'd
house
be
right
surprised.
now?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Pellet's house right here makes it look small.
Yeah.
That's that white, really contemporary house.
That's right here. That's this one. That's Orlando.
70s to 80s.
Yeah, but they kind of dished it up a little. He spruced that up.
I always liked it.
Yeah. Oh, he's actually it needed a little work. But it's still all white. Like yeah, it's cool. It's a nice house. Yeah, and Joe Vanini, he's been doing a little work on his over here. Weiss, I don't know, Weiss aren't even still there anymore, is he, Jeff?
So I'm very new to this.
Okay,
Yeah, they started talking to me in November to hire me to build a house.
okay, so you're just,
I
yeah.
came after the plans were drawn and everything. But we do a lot of lake houses and I'm at variance meetings just about every month. Because of the lake properties.
Imagine that. Imagine that. We don't usually have too many variance requests on this lake because of the planning. At one time, the rules on the lake were tighter than the rules in the variance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've kind of equaled out a little bit. These have gotten tighter. The township ordinance has gotten tighter. And so the association bylaws are they're kind of equal now almost.
Yeah, apparently I take the 4 doors to 3 on the garage. You can't have entrances for 4 vehicles. You can have it fit 4 vehicles, but the entrance can't fit 4 vehicles.
Right, right.
Fortunately, we don't have to make those kind of decisions.
Right? I think if I was the architect, I probably would have read that first.
All right, do we have any outside correspondence for us? Do we have any questions for you guys?
How big is the house that's right there, or on it right now?
5,500, I believe.
5,500?
Wow, it's that big? I didn't even think it was that big.
That's what he told me. Yeah.
That surprises me.
How big is this
Maybe.
one?
It's probably similar. How many square feet is this one?
This one is 30, getting my 4 house right now. I think this one's 3417 upstairs. And there's just a small living area on the basement floor. So probably
4,000?
each. Yeah, and then there's an apartment in the garage.
4,000 and then an apartment in the garage.
They gonna let him do that?
What?
An apartment?
It's
Full
attached,
facilities?
because it's attached garage.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of them have that mother-in-law. We have the mother-in-law.
Well, I saw in the drawing here where it showed, it looked like a walkway to the
Yeah.
proposed garage, so I wasn't sure if it was connected or if it was just a walkway.
No, it has to be connected.
Yeah.
You
I don't know
cannot
if you saw
have
the
it,
stakes out there too.
you cannot have it detached.
I was
Can't have
lost,
it
put 'em in.
detached. You cannot have it detached. You can't have an outbuilding.
Catwalk.
You can't have an outbuilding.
I know.
You see, there's no properties here. The ones that have a boathouse, they got in before the rule. They snuck in. They did that in the 60s.
Mhm.
So where we're at right now, everyone seems to approve that the building's moving away and improving the lakeside of the property, no problem. The septic is gonna be in a good place, the driveway looks good, I think we're just convincing over nothing right now. I move that we accept this variance.
I'll second it.
Okay. Don Bunker made a motion. Tim seconded it. You
I
ready?
was.
Take a vote.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Tim Scarberry,
Yes.
Rich Erickson,
Yes.
Joe Coleman,
Yes.
Don Bonta,
Yes.
Greg Penn.
Yes.
I should vote no, just to be contrarian.
Just
That's
to
always next time.
just to have it.
I would.
We tabled it a little bit.
I would keep all your stuff for the table.
It's good to keep it. You keep it all from the table? Yeah.
Thank you for making a second.
So, are we being recorded?
Okay, so let's get a list for the zoning
Oh,
for
we gotta
Ross.
close out the meeting, right?
Yeah, we have to close the meeting.
Before-
Before we give them a list?
Okay.
Okay, I adjourn. And you can turn off the recording. And then we'll get a list for poor Ross to go to work.